worked with Department of Defense Public Affairs for a number of years in the New Media Directorate. I've recently moved over to the Office of the CIO, and I'm working much more on social media, Web 2.0, internet policy kinds of things. Today, I'm here representing myself. My views are not the views necessarily of the Department of Defense. There's my disclaimer. And I just want to share with you, I mean, a lot of this is from the work that I'm doing at DoD. I just want to share with you some of the ways that I've started thinking about these things due to the work I've done at DoD and other agencies. So a lot of people say, okay, social media, we'll just start using this stuff. Let's just do it, right? And people are moving ahead regardless of what policies are in place and regardless of what policies they're violating. So I'm here to talk to you primarily about policy today. The answer is the world is going really, really fast, and your instinct is if I don't start just doing it, I'm going to miss it, and I have to hop on, so I'll start doing it. Policies seem really formal, right? Oh gosh, it takes forever to create policy. But policies protect our information and our systems, and anarchy is just not the answer. Don't be paralyzed by existing policies. Policies are there to change. I mean, this is why we have constitutional amendments, right? You can evolve policies. You are the leaders of agencies and the ones in charge of making the Open Government Directive happen. And you're seeing things before other people are seeing them. So here's what I call the Government 2.0 Trinity. I think that Government 2.0 is comprised of culture, technology, and policy. And the three work sort of inextricably linked. It's not about the tools. So we all start with this, oh, I want to use social media tools in my agency. And I want to introduce the concept, some of you have seen this before, but the idea of social media is a catch-22. And social media, you don't really understand these tools and technologies until you start using them. And you'd never use these things until you understood the value. And suddenly you start using them, you start seeing the value and say, oh my gosh, we have to be doing this internally or whatever. Well, it's hard because this isn't the way your organization operates normally. So collaboration is also a bit of a catch-22. We didn't grow up in a collaborative world. We grew up in a pretty hierarchical world. And collaboration is a catch-22. You're not going to do it until you understand the value. Why should I share? Why should I give my information away? Well, that's giving away my power. Why would I do that? But once you start doing it, you start understanding, whether that's on a wiki, in actual face-to-face meetings, on max.omb.gov site, whatever. You start understanding this is valuable to me. But what becomes more complicated is that the two are a bit of a catch-44. So once you start using social media tools and technologies, you understand the value of collaboration. And once you start collaborating, you're like, oh my goodness, these tools can really help me. How do you jump into this infinite catch-44? Well, back to this Government 2.0 Trinity, I think that policy for agencies is the way in. Policy development, from my experience, is really two-sided. We think of the content of the policy. We need a document. It has to be this many words, pages long. But I argue that the process of developing the policy is equally important, and that can address a lot of those cultural issues. So, really quick, in developing policy, practice the collaboration that you preach. If you're developing a policy on open government, you need to make it an open process. Some of this seems really obvious, right? Through some of the work I've done with unnamed government agencies, we found that using Defense Connect Online, using wikis, we have a SharePoint site that has become absolutely invaluable. It's brought over 100 people together from all different areas of Department of Defense to come and build this policy together. Hugely valuable. Show, don't tell. If you show people how these tools work, they're going to understand them. If you say, well, it's a collaborative tool and we need to use it, nobody's going to understand it. Show, don't tell. And then, so that's kind of the process side. On the content side, be really clear about what the scope of your policy is covering. Are you talking about social networking sites or social networking services that are across sites? Personal versus professional use of things, use of these tools through your agency's systems or through private commercial drops that are in your agency somehow. Are you talking about official use of, on behalf of your agency, or are you talking about unofficial use? And then I guess and then I won't go into details here, but developing policy in the context of existing policies. Don't forget about existing policies. You'll run up against huge problems if you do. Things like information assurance, operational security, these are really important. There are a lot of legal ramifications. We've discovered things like terms of service agreements that were negotiated by GSA are going to be hugely helpful to us, but we need to create processes internally to manage these. And so that is a case of technology impacting culture. We have had meetings with many of the security officers at many of the social networking services. That's a case of technology impacting culture. We realize we need to work differently. Utilizing the collaborative tools and technologies have affected the way we're going about our policy. So that's a case of the tools and technologies affecting policy. So all of these three things are inextricably linked, affect one another, and it's important to think about all three in context. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks for letting me sneak in. Sorry to interrupt the flow.
So a couple of questions.
I'm interested to find out, at DoD, were the policies developed internally, or did you collaborate across government to develop the policies? And can you share if you can?
Do you want me to answer that one?
Hey, Maxine.
Hey, Mark.
I agree with your catch-44, but the reality is some people find a way to break out of it and some people don't, and that's why we have early adopters. So what separates early adopters from everyone else? I think it's curiosity.
Okay, another question. Let's answer this question.
I guess I'll start with Mark's first and then go. So, yeah, I think what happens is there's a small cadre of folks within an agency or a corporation or whatever it is that kind of see a different way of doing things. And they're the ones who lead the cultural change as far as it can go. But in government agencies, until the policy is in place, you're not going to ever have widespread cultural change, because policy is what enables people or disables people to do various things. I don't know if that sort of addresses it. And regarding collaboration, we used a lot of word of mouth. I know that there are plenty of other people in DoD who want to be involved in this kind of thing, and we didn't connect with them in some way. We started with a team of like 4 people, and suddenly over 2 weeks, it was 100 people. From a lot of different areas, from many of the different commands, all of the services, public affairs, CIO shops, et cetera. We hope that this is an ongoing and growing thing, and that our policy is by no means done. It's in coordination currently. We hope to have something out soon, and that's about it.
Super.
Thanks.